We're going to do it again. Thank you for joining us tonight at the March 14th, 2017 Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. To start us off, we're going to ask Keith Gunner to pray for us. He is the pastor of New Creation Church on Saundersville Road. Please go ahead, Keith.
Please join me in prayer. Gracious God, the simple prayer tonight would be to pray for us to lead. But God, may we have the courage to follow as you have taught us and to follow you well. Lord, we do pray this night that you give us a desire to build unity, a desire to be a community of grace, and to offer hope where there may be no hope. Lord, grant all this night the gift to listen, the courage to speak, and the ability to move in bold ways. And Lord, finally, grant us the heart to love. Give us the ability to anger to what angers you, to weep to what makes you weep, and to celebrate to what brings you joy. And Lord, may we all be grateful. Grateful for the many blessings of this great city, this great nation in which we call home. We pray this prayer in your name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Keith. We're going to say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've had a couple guest pastors come in, and Keith from New Creation Church is our latest, and we'll continue to do that. We very much appreciate that. Do I have a motion to accept our agenda? So moved. On behalf of Alderman Hedberg, I would like to ask the two people who moved and seconded to allow me to remove item F to hold it until our next meeting.
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion, a second, to accept the agenda with the exception of item F, taking that off. Where should it go?
I'd like to probably just an announcement. If it'd be convenient, we'll put it right after the general committee report.
Okay. For our folks that had the motion and second, would you accept that change to that addition to the printed agenda? I think Mark was one who made it. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Okay. Any other requests to change? We have call a question to accept the agenda. All in favor of accepting the agenda with these two changes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That passes unanimously. Next, presentations, which we have none. Public hearings, which we have none. Minutes, I'd entertain a motion to approve our February 28th, 2017 meeting minutes. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor of approving our February 28th, 2017 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And we have an abstention, Alderman Woodcock, two, Alderman Woodcock and Alderman Brown. And that passes. Next we have citizens' comments. Mike Hudson. Let me turn on your mic here, Mike, and I think you're ready to go. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Mike Hudson. I live at 114 Savely Court, Hendersonville, Tennessee. It's been about a year and a half since I've been up here. The elections happened. Some of you know me. Some of you have known me since 2009. You don't like seeing me because when you see me, it's an issue. Flooding. It's coming up on the rainy season. The creek has grown up again. It actually got cleaned out 2 years ago. That was great. But I'm down to the big part now. I want to know where the buyout is, where the starting of it is, where the ending of it is. There's been two people on our road that have tried to sell their house. One of them was actually in contract with a investor. The investor found out that the house had been in floods 5 times. They literally backed out completely. If we can't sell our house to investors, we sure can't sell them to regular people. So the only people we can sell our house to is the government. So they can tear it down and make a big mud puddle out of it. Okay, guys? It's coming up on the season. I do not want to go through it again. Somebody get some answers. I'll come back to the next meeting and figure this out. The other house that was actually up for sale, they just pulled it off the market because it was on the market for almost 4 months. They had 2 offers, and those were backed out of whenever they found out it was on flood. These days and times, houses don't stay on the market for 4 months. You can ask anybody. Somebody will put a house on the market, usually goes in about 5 to 10 days. Tell me what's going to happen. Tell everybody in TV land what's going to happen. I know the Public Works Committee's working on it. I know it's here, but we on Savely Court keep hearing different things. We've heard that there's not enough people to apply for the grants. We've heard that you guys don't have enough funds to do it and everything else. Try to figure it out and fix it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Committee reports, General Committee, Chairman Strauss.
Thank you, Mayor. General Committee met earlier today at 5:30. We considered 3 pieces of legislation that will be coming before this board at a later date. First was Ordinance 2017-11, ordinance amending Hendersonville Municipal Code regarding the definition of beer. We did not do any tastings or samples or anything at that time. It was all done on paper, and the board recommends that, the committee recommends that ordinance to the board. Resolution 2017-8 dealing with a rezoning in Indian Lake Village. The committee will be sending that to the board with no recommendation. And then Resolution 2017-9, amendments to the golf course management agreement, and the committee recommended that as well. Tonight there are 4 items that were on our agenda. There are now 3. Ordinance 2017 dealing with Mr. Brown's ordinance dealing with the discharge and waste on streets. Again, just to remind you, the committee recommended that. The committee also recommended ordinance 2017-8 dealing with accessory buildings and zoning changes there, as the kind of the sister ordinance 2017-12 having to deal with zoning and collection and recycling bins. The committee actually had a negative recommendation for ordinance 2017-10, but it's not on our agenda for tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
And I'll go into my other announcement real quick, if you don't mind. I've been asked, the Sumner Teen Center is an agency that is supported by many entities, including this city government, but supports all students in Sumner County high schools and middle schools with free programs that deal with job training, with lifestyle training. It's amazing. You just have sometimes teaching a kid how to cook and to eat healthy, and even something as basic as driving training. That's some of their most basic, one of the most popular programs right now, doing with driver education, doing that training. And they're having an event to help fund those programs on Saturday, April 22nd. It's a burger battle. It's going to be a lunchtime event, 11 o'clock. I have tickets with me tonight, $15 for one person, $25 for 2. If any member of the board would like to buy 1 or 2 tickets, love to have you up there for a contest, a grilling contest, and it would include your meal. And if anyone in the community would like to attend, they can contact me as well. Again, that's Saturday, April 22nd at the Sumner Teen Center, which is across the street from Ball State. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Strauss. Chairman Brown, Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. We met tonight. We voted unanimously to approve Resolution 2017-7, a resolution approving an agreement supplementing the Consolidation of Dispatch Services Agreement. Now, if anybody wants to know what that means exactly, that means that we have city employees, dispatchers will be going to work actually for the county on July the 1st at our proposed new dispatch center. However, they may not physically be working in that dispatch center yet. They may still be working here within the city limits. So, as Commander Harbsmar said, this basically makes everything run smooth. And if Commander Harbsmar says that will make it run smooth, I'm a believer. So, we passed that unanimously. We had a discussion regarding installation of an automatic gate at the entrance to Sanders Ferry Park. That came from a request from the mayor and some other residents in Mr. Petrelli, Mr. Skidmore's ward, concerning some issues. We lost a couple folks took their lives down there a couple weeks ago, and that kind of raised awareness that there's things that go on in that park other than just park things occasionally. Nothing bad necessarily, but it does make folks uncomfortable. So we had a discussion about that. That was moved on to the Parks Board for them to have a discussion concerning the gate, if there should be such one. We talked about possible safety issues surrounding bollards that had been installed at Drakes Creek Park a few months ago. Discussed that for 15, 20 minutes, and then have asked the Parks Board to take a look into those if they're the actual solution that we need, as they may cut down on response times for emergency services getting into the quad areas and stuff. So Parks Board has been asked to take a look at that and come back and talk to the Safety Committee about it later. We also talked about some safety concerns of speeding in Chesapeake Harbor, and had a further discussion about the Hendersonville Fire Station number 2 and the administrative offices. We do not have any preliminary figures back yet. Hopefully we'll by the end of the week on what we may have to do to our old fire hall and or possibly build a new fire hall. But the one action that we did take is Chief Bush and his men, along with me and some other folks, have been looking for some property to relocate temporarily during the retrofit or fix or whatever it may be over the next several months. We have asked Chief Bush to get with Mr. Bradley and look at executing a possible lease across the street, but we referred that to Finance Committee once it's been to Mr. Bradley and discussed. That's my report.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, thank you. I'll keep it, excuse me, I'll keep it short this evening. I want to go over just 3 issues that are going to be before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in the coming weeks. We will hopefully get all the information you'll need to go over it, because it is all 3 of the programs are pretty substantial for the city. One is the stormwater ordinance. That's coming before us probably in a couple of weeks. So please take a look at it when you get your packet and start reading it, because it's a long ordinance because there's a lot in it. Then another one we're going to be coming with you, probably not at the same time, probably we'll stagger these because they're so important, and that is the municipal floodplain ordinance, which our municipal floodplain has changed a little bit, and we need to go over that ordinance and let everybody know what's going on. And I don't really see a lot of major discussion on that. It just will show you what has happened and what has transpired, and how our ordinance reflects the federal regulations as well as the state. And the other thing is, we're going to be giving you a report in the coming months about the pavement management program that our city has now. I'm real excited about it, and I will let, not this evening, but if it's okay, we'll get Chip to tell you all about it, just to give him the highlights and report of it, to let you know what we're doing about paving and how it's going to be a little different this go around, as well as for the city. It's going to be taking a lot of the politics out of it. Of course, that's when people are watching this and y'all kind of look at me, right? That's going to, it's Hendersonville, but it will. There'll always be politics, of course, but it'll take a lot of that out, and I think it's a refreshing kind of program that allows us to see what is and what isn't going on with our street paving. And so us in Public Works, we're real excited about that. That's a great thing. I do want to let the folks know, and I think it's on Irvin Street in Ward 4, that we are in the process of getting both the aldermen the information that we need to correct the I believe it's 108. And I want to let you guys know that we're going to fix or correct that problem with water over there, and we're going to give you a full report at our next meeting on what we're going to do about that. But I wanted to let you all know that we really appreciated you coming to the board, both the aldermen from Ward 4 and how they, brought the information that we needed to get this correction, in the process. And I wanted to let your constituency know that you all were there, and especially the family or the lady that lives at 108, that you all are doing your work. And I want to let everybody know that. And Mayor, that's it, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Alderman Waters, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. I've sat here and listened to my friend, Mr. Hudson, speak, and I want to address a question to my Public Works Chairman. He asked a question.
Yes,
and,
sir.
He and about 7 more have asked questions. Can I ask, Mr. Chairman, can I ask the Chairman of the Public Works?
Yes, sir.
If he would put it on the agenda at our next Public Works meeting and invite this gentleman come, and let's get him
Sure.
some type of an answer to his question?
I think that's entirely appropriate. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. If I may respond.
Sure.
Yes, sir, we'd be more than happy to put you all first on the agenda, and we can have a discussion about it. Because I can tell you this, I know the Public Works Department has been working on that problem along with the other, not only your residents, but all the residences over there in Ward 6. And it's not only you guys, but some others, maybe not with the same problem, but as far as the water problems that we have over in that section of town. And I do know that Public Works has been working on it, but we'll put it first thing on the agenda and try to, if you'll let your neighbors know that we're going to do that. And then I'll ask Mr. Waters at our next, it'll be our next meeting, and I don't know right offhand what the date is, but it's the end of the month, 28th of this month. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Petrelli, could you give us a planning commission report?
Thank you, Mayor. So from our March 7th Hendersonville Regional Planning Commission meeting, at the public hearing, the request by Davidson Academy to rezone approximately 76 acres from suburban residential, low-density SR1 to multifamily residential plan development, MFRPD, was continued to next month. Under site plans, George Wooden Elementary School renovation was approved. Savannah, Phase 7, Section 1, the final plat revision was deferred. Stonecrest, Phase 5, Section 1, final plat was approved. Stonecrest, Phase 5, Section 2, final plat was approved with clarification of staff comments. Stonecrest, Phase 5, Section 3, final plat was approved with clarification of staff comments. Indian Lake Center, Phase 1, Publix, add use of a kennel was approved. Indian Lake Village, Phase 1A, FDP amendment was recommended approved. And that should be coming for us tonight, and that's what we've got.
Alderman Woodcock, did you have a question?
I do. It's related to some of the developments that were just mentioned, and the question's probably more for the city attorney. I've had several residents ask us why we cannot simply stop development until the roads are caught up as far as infrastructure. And it's my understanding that outside of being impossible to do that, it's almost illegal to do like a moratorium. Is that accurate?
Yeah, hold on one second. Peg actually still has the floor, so do you want to answer or do you want to turn to the city attorney?
I think it's a good question. We actually had that question last night at a meeting. I would feel free to have Mr. Bradley answer.
Okay.
You'd have to have a pretty good reason, and typically it's something such as sewer lines are failing. And we've had some of our local cities in Middle Tennessee that have been ordered by the state to not allow future development. And even with those, it's new subdivisions. It doesn't mean you can't develop on already previously approved lots. So it's a pretty heavy burden on the city to show that it's not arbitrary and capricious to just stop building, as opposed to responsible development where you require the infrastructure to be improved as the development's made. Because people certainly have vested property rights that own property. So it's a complicated issue. It sort of depends on the facts of each particular situation.
Thanks.
Just throw a little bit of clarity with that. Peg, two of the items that you talked about on Stonecrest, I know that the developers are going to be required to make some street improvements that they otherwise previously haven't been required. Am I right about that? Okay, thank you. Alderman Woodcock, could you tell us about Hendersonville Horizons, please?
Yes, very excited. We've had a throttle back in the last few weeks, and now we're free to go full speed. And at this time, we're looking for citizens who may be interested in serving on some of our subcommittees. We have three major groups or committees called Work, Live, Play. I know we all have citizens in our wards that have a active personality who would like to chip in. If you feel they are the right fit for one of those committees, feel free to send their information to me or Fred or Keith, and we will get them on one of the subcommittees. If you have any questions about that or they have a question, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Woodcock. Mayor's report. We're going to have a workshop on March 30th. We haven't completely determined the agenda quite yet. It's a lot of things that have gotten put off a little bit, and you've seen some of my reports into probably about 6 or 7 items on there. So March 30th, and we're going to have that at Union University. They offered some space there, and that's certainly one of the assets of the community we want to take advantage of. Alderman Wilcox, you have a question about that?
You're probably going to answer it in 5 seconds. Do we have a date for the budget workshop?
We do. That is April 12th.
Okay.
Okay. Alderman Sprouse, do you have a question on that?
Any way we could possibly do something other than the 30th? I know that we have a 5th Tuesday that month, and traditionally boards will meet on 5th Tuesdays when they're available.
We'll take a look at. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that? I mean, it's.
I'll be unavailable. I'm having surgery the day before.
Oh, really? On the 29th? Are you any better on the 31st? I guess that's a very, very specific question.
So are we saying the
30th
30th is not a good day?
The 30th is a Thursday. We're going to have a Boma meeting on that previous Tuesday, the 28th.
Let me pull my cell phone out and check my calendar.
Okay. I'm right about that, right? Okay. And part of the reason that the 30th comes to mind is that we're going to have a workshop on the 12th for the budget. And there's a couple things that are really important that we talk about before we have a budget workshop.
Well, could we just have a workshop before our board meeting?
I'm sorry?
Could we just have a workshop before our board meeting on the 28th?
Yeah, we got some committee meetings and.
It's 5:30.
And there'll be a Public Works
Yeah.
committee too. So.
Yeah.
What was the proposed date?
The 30th, March 30th. We have a Boma meeting the 28th.
The 30th works for me.
Anybody else
I'm
wanna
just
weigh
one
in?
person.
I'm just highly concerned that we're starting to do a lot of governance in workshops as opposed to business meetings.
Has there been anything in a workshop that should have come to a board meeting that hasn't?
I agree with a previous comment that you made that this board should meet, that boards and commissions of this city should meet on regular days where members of the public are able to schedule and know when those meetings are going to take place without something coming up later on where there's going to be a conflict. I agree with that comment, and that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Anybody else want to weigh in on the 30th?
Works
Okay.
for me.
Okay. And then we're going to have a budget workshop on the 12th, which has been traditional. And that's a Wednesday night, and we're going to do that at the library. We'll have dinner with that one. We won't have dinner on the 30th.
We're going to have something other than pizza.
Kay says yep. Kay says no to prime rib. We have several wonderful opportunities to choose from. Don't quite know yet. We've got to check with Union. Do we know Union University? Union University probably at 6, but we'll send out a notice about that ahead of time. On the 17th of April, the League of Women Voters, myself, and a couple other folks are working to do a town hall meeting about budget and finance for the city. You all are absolutely welcome and encouraged to be there. It's an opportunity for me and us to get some input from folks. It's also an opportunity to talk a little bit about our pavement management system. I think I would like to get out there as much as possible to help people understand how we came about that. As Chairman Skidmore explained, this is an opportunity to really have some data and some real information about our roads.
Can you send these events out?
I will. I don't know quite yet. I'm looking for a couple folks to help put that together and encourage people to be there. So that will be on the 17th, and we don't quite have a venue, but we wanted to get that on your calendar. We have in the budget for the current year to upgrade our audio system in here, and it's about a $30,000 line item. I've asked Mary Beth to put that off for the end of the year. We just have some other expenses, namely a fire hall, that I think are more important, and we're trying to find some other spots that we can trim back for this budget year. We do have an item coming up that's going to cost us $9,000 that involves some equipment in City Hall. I think that $9,000 is worthwhile. The $30,000, I feel like we can put that off right now. So, hold on just a second. Alderman Gilly, I just turned you off. There you go.
Just a personal request, if, when we talk about redoing the audio system, if we could maybe ask Mary Beth or whoever we need to ask with that, if we could look at possibly the cost when we do that of electronic voting. Is that in there?
That's part of it.
Perfect.
Tell them to fix the clock.
But we're putting it off.
Putting it off.
So I get to still vote in the middle every time.
Well, you should talk to,
Perfect.
Alderman Brown is
Alderman
less
Brown's
excited.
first.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good job.
Alderman Campbell.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Just want to make sure in our workshop that we also discuss the rebuilding of roads. We're talking about paving, but we also have issues where we need to rebuild roads such as Saundersville Road, Center Point Road, Walton Ferry, Old Shackle Island Road realignment, Saunders Ferry Road, Anderson Lane, and other roads throughout our city. The price tag on those roads will be
Forestry tree.
a lot of money. We're talking, I'm saying $3 to $10 million on some of these roads to rebuild them, to do it like it should be done. And the people need to know what we're looking at in the future. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. This is probably 5, 10, 15 years down the road trying to get these roads squeezed in here. So we need to talk about that, and everybody need to be on the same page. Thank you.
Alderman Campbell, thank you. We now need to go into executive session. We have 2 lawsuits that we're involved in. It's a good opportunity for us to update those. Let me tell you all, everybody here, this is probably going to be 5 or 10 minutes. We don't ask any questions among ourselves. We take some information from our city attorney. He provides some information to us. We don't have any discussions about that in the executive session. It's an opportunity for us to get some information from our city attorney. I will tell you the 2 lawsuits are one that involves a person who is running in Hendersonville on the Greenway, and the second one is a former employer, and I'll leave it at that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for y'all's patience for us to talk about ask some questions of our city attorney. Next item on the agenda is second reading of ordinance 2017-6. This is an ordinance amending our budget ordinance 2016-10 by accepting the pool's matching grant programs and appropriating $24,000 to purchase property safety related items. Alderman Woodcock.
Thank you, Mayor. Since this is the second reading, you guys should know what it's about. We applied for a grant.
Make a motion, please.
We received it. I don't like making a motion on my own stuff. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Alderman Woodcock, would you like to speak on this?
No.
Okay. Certainly your prerogative. We have nobody in the queue.
Weeks ago, when you weren't here, it came up on Thursday.
All those in favor of second reading of ordinance 2017-6, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is second reading of ordinance 2017-7. This is an ordinance to amend our budget ordinance of 2016-10 by appropriating $8,578 for an internal paging system at City Hall. Alderman Campbell, would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have Alderman Woodcock. Go
I
ahead.
just want to make some understanding. So this piece of audio equipment, I know what it is. Is it completely independent of what we're putting off to the end of the year? That's $30,000?
Yes.
So we're not doubling up in any shape, form, way? Okay.
Nobody else in the queue? All those in favor of accepting second reading of ordinance 2017-7, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, first reading of ordinance 2017-4. This is an ordinance amending Title 16 of the Hendersonville Municipal Code. Alderman Brown, would you like to make that motion?
I would like to make the motion, sir.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Alderman Brown, would you like to speak?
I would, sir. Thank you.
Go ahead.
This has been discussed for a while. It was in general committee. I was unable to be here a couple weeks ago, so we put it off until tonight. I've also asked that a couple of our employees who are involved with these issues that would be here this evening and our storm drainage and so on and so forth to help clarify a bit. This has kind of become known as the grass ordinance, and which is really kind of a not a good way to put it. The word grass is in here, but we've actually added six words to the old ordinance. Those words are grass, yard clipping, leaves, chemicals, and fluids. If I could get, Helen, would you mind, you and Dwayne, or both of you, come up? Your title is?
Erosion Control Enforcement Officer.
Erosion Control Enforcement Officer. Okay, and that kind of deals with all the things we just mentioned there.
Yes.
So it's very important in your job that to try to make sure that we don't get chemicals in our stormwater system.
That's correct.
Our stormwater system is basically water that runs off from rain.
Correct.
I guess to preface why that's important, we know we have chemicals in the yard. We know we have folks that clean carpets, and after talking to Chip and you and Jerry before, we've actually seen carpet cleaners unload their soapy dispensable chemicals into the stormwater system. Explain what this piece, I discussed this with you and Jerry and your department heads, what this piece of adding these words would help you all do.
I think it helps. The main thing is to educate citizens regarding our stormwater ordinance, and then also with property maintenance. Jerry Peterson, the property maintenance officer, she enforces it as far as, throwing any kind of debris, litter, grass clippings, anything like that on sidewalks. Whereas I deal mainly with the roadways and the storm sewer system. Well, like Mr. Brown just said, when you put these clippings and debris and any kind of chemicals, fertilizers into the roadway or into the drainage ditch or on sidewalks, eventually they end up in the municipal separate storm sewer system. So all those drainage grates you see one of them in the picture, all of them say drains to the river. So these nutrients and pollutants end up in the ditches and end up in our streams and end up in Old Hickory Lake. And obviously, it's very detrimental to water quality.
Okay, thank you. I may want to ask you something else here in a minute.
Okay.
If you can sit if you want to, or somebody else may want to. But I put in front of you three pictures. These are pictures of storm drain that is loaded with grass. Okay. The second picture is actually in Alderman Gilly in my ward, and I'd had a complaint from a neighbor about one of the commercial mowers blowing grass out in the street. So they called me when they were mowing again, and you can see that's my elbow in that picture. I'm not a very good photographer, but I did that on the move, actually. And kind of bony. I wish it was bony. But there's the grass in the street, and if you look up the top, you can see the mower in the trailer, okay? I come back by about 20 minutes later, and the grass was still there, and the commercial mower was gone. Now, I could tell you who that was, but I won't. If you look at the last picture, that's one of Hendersonville's finest, cleaning up grass that was blowed out in the street by whoever was mowing Tilted Kilt last year, okay? That is not her best side. She is a much prettier lady than that side, but I would tell you that I don't really want our high-dollar employees out cleaning up grass when a commercial mower service that is paid $100 for a cut blows it out in the street. They should take 2 or 3 minutes to turn around and blow it back up in the yard. So I think those three pictures kind of tell the tale of what we're after. We couldn't find anybody dumping their chemicals in the drains, but they do that. So
I've seen it.
the biggest addition here is those 6 words. And I think what that does to both of our departments is give them another tool. And I will give you an example. The gentleman that was mowing Krispy Kreme donuts last year was doing the exact same thing as the gentleman that was mowing Tilted Kilt. And so I stopped to see him, introduced myself, and told him who I was, and told him I was an alderman of the city, and that I would certainly appreciate that if he blew his grass back up in the grass that he just cut instead of leaving it on the street, because I'd seen him do it the week before. And he said, "Man, I didn't even think about it. I appreciate that so much. I like to take care of our city too." It was just a simple reminder. But what this does is the way it's worded, is give a tool. And we didn't have this tool before, where you could say, "Hey, we have this statute. Would you please ask the person mowing your yard or mowing your commercial property?" Indian Lake Boulevard was a good one to look at last year. It was grass and stuff all up and down it. So anyway, that's what it's for. It's not to pick on homeowners. It's not to make anybody's life uncomfortable. We are not wanting, I heard somebody say, I think the term was, we were going to come the Nazis or the Nazi police or something. No, we're not doing that. We're just trying to make the city a little bit cleaner, a little bit safer, look a little bit better, and give our ladies, basically, who are on the front line dealing with these issues, a little bit of a tool to say, "Hey, would you mind taking care of this issue?" And I don't think any of our commercial mower folks or anybody even mowing in their neighborhood would care about that, unless they become an abuser. Then if they become an abuser, then they can be cited into court. And that's what we do with abusers of speeding tickets and everything else. So that's what I've got to say. I would hope that you all would vote for that to help our employees out and to help our city be a little bit safer and a little bit prettier. So, thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo the comments of my colleague from Ward 4. One thing that, of course, Alderman Petrelli and myself, we see it a lot over in our ward when we go out and look at drainage projects where we're seeing a lot of the yard clippings that are in ditches, and it has a hindrance of the drainage flow of the water. But in Public Works, we see it every day. We're out in our Alderman Waters and Alderman Campbell and myself, when we're out, whether collectively or individually, that we have so many places that we have to see throughout the city. We'll split up and go our own ways, and then we'll come back to the committee and talk about it. And we see this all the time, where a lot of folks will just put their clippings. I've even seen one time, I was in a particular ward, and it wasn't our ward, but it was a particular ward where they were putting oil from their car in the stormwater drainage facility. I saw they went out there in front of their yard where the drainage was, and was pouring right there, and I said, "You can't do that." Now, they said they didn't have any idea that they couldn't, and that may be, but it's also, not only do we need to pass this ordinance, but it's also upon us as a city to educate and let our constituency know what the rules are, and maybe we can put that up on Channel 3 or something like that, just to continue to reinforce this issue, because maybe sometimes they really don't know. I mean, they may be out there mowing their lawn, and listening to their jams or whatever, or their music, and they just may be rocking and rolling down there, and go, "Oh my God, look what I did." And sometimes I know that happens. So I guess that's the thing that I want to say about that is that if we can educate our constituency and also by passing this, I think that it's going to help Public Works, and it'll also help on, believe it or not, and I'm telling you, it will, a lot of our drainage problems that we have. If you will go in your own ward, when you're walking around or driving in your own district, if you will look at the drainage, the basins or the iron, where the stormwater goes, if you will just drive by and roll down your window and look, and you will see the clippings and the stuff that's coming off people's yards into those, and it clogs it up, and it backs up, and then the water comes into people's yards. So if we're able to keep this thing clean, and then we monitor it in Public Works and make sure that it's cleaned out too, because there's some things you can't stop, and I understand that. But if everybody kind of works together on this, I think you're going to see less water. It's not going to solve problems by no means, but I think it'll help us in the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. Good ordinance, right reasons. I've heard the Nazi comment as well. My question is, on the citation, how much of the citation is it going to be? And what do we do with repeat offenders? And my question is directed towards the author of the ordinance, if that's okay.
My best guess answer, and I'll get Mr. Bradley and Ms. Helen in here too, but my guess would be it's a $50 fine plus court cost, which is pretty well standard. And
Yes,
that's
that's,
affirmative. I would hope, since you directed that at me, I would like to say, I would venture to guess that we will write very, very few citations. This is just a tool that if there is a repeat offender, if this guy that I took the picture of in
Hold
Indian,
on. Let's go back to her and then we'll come back to
Okay.
your statement, okay?
Well, I'm just about done.
Okay.
I think once
Yeah,
they're warned
go
one
ahead and
time, Arlene,
finish
they'll
their-
probably be like the guy at Krispy Kreme. He'll go, oh my goodness, yes, I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah, I believe the education part of it is
Yep.
going to be key here, because the neighbors, I mean, they want to see they want to see their yards and their streets nicely groomed. And the problem I have is if they're repeat offenders that just will not comply no matter what.
yeah, in that circumstances where we would defer to the citation, like I said earlier, we're looking more to do the public education, and that's going to be our main point with that is, hey, we do have an ordinance. We're trying to, have the highest water quality. We're also trying to keep the streets clean, and it's going to help, obviously protect citizens, public safety wise. And so in that situation, we have somebody who's constantly doing this and not adhering to the municipal code, and that's when we would issue the citation.
Yeah. Well, I certainly see the benefit, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Sprouse.
Thank you, Mayor. I am very sensitive to government overreach. The longer that I've been on this board, the smaller the stick I want this government to carry. And the question I always ask of folks, we heard police state in general committee, that we were establishing a police state. And really what comes down to me is anytime we have any sort of prohibition or restriction upon residents, we have to balance what the burden is to the resident and what the benefit is to the overall community. And quite frankly, what's the burden? If you're going and blowing leaves out, blow them back up on the lawn. If you're taking the first pass when you're mowing, mow towards your house, don't mow towards your street. That's something I was told 35 years ago when I started mowing my own yard. My dad made sure I did that. In a way, it's kind of disappointing, as glad as I am that Mr. Brown brought this forward, it's kind of disappointing that we even have to have something so common sense and common courtesy as a law. But we also have laws that say I can't go out and run heavy machinery or a chainsaw at midnight. No one's saying that that's a police state. We have a rule that I had to explain last November to a kid who was turning 16 years old who couldn't understand why in November he couldn't have a bonfire for his birthday. We had to explain to him that that's not just an issue of common courtesy, it's an issue of common sense and safety, and the city realized it wasn't the right conditions to have those sorts of things. So this is no different, because it basically comes down to don't throw your stuff out into the street. And one thing I think really needs to be highlighted, because the conversation has happened in the community over the last few weeks about this, and when someone asks me about it, I can't even get out the explanation of what the proposal is, and I've had 3 people say, oh, I had a brother, or I had a neighbor, or I had somebody who went down on a bike because they couldn't get traction on the street. So if anyone says this is overreach, just ask them, how bad of a neighbor do you have to be that you spending a minute blowing something back up all into your yard or your commercial property for the benefit of your entire neighborhood and the water safety, but for the benefit of your neighbor who's going to be riding down your street on their way home on their way to the bike? And so I appreciate this coming forward. I know that we live in a good community filled with good people, and when they're asked to think about this, they will think about this, and citations will be very few. But there will be some folks who are going to be a knucklehead, and we have to give this tool. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sprouse. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mayor. course, I'm a simple person, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to direct a question to the sponsor of this ordinance.
It's up to him if he wants to answer, but feel free.
How does this, we got a section 16-108. It's already on the books, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, does this have anything to remove this? Are we going to remove this one and insert something else?
No, sir, we're adding 6 words, yard clipping, leaves, grass, chemicals, and fluids. To 106, 107, 16-108 is already on the books, and it'll be there. We're adding 6 words to 107, yard clippings, leaves, grass, chemicals, and fluids.
Okay, question number 2, how are we going to enforce this now?
This
No.
lady here who's out in the field, Jerry, who is our codes enforcement person, would be the other one who would enforce it. And I guess if one of our police officers sees somebody open up a back of a carpet cleaning truck and dumping chemicals down a drain, they could write them a citation because they are enforcement officers. So,
Well, I think you're stretching it, but I'll go along with it. You know, my concern is not the individual that lives there, it's the commercial mower, landscaper. I think someone made a statement, $100 to cut a grass or something, and he's gone in 5 minutes probably. You know, I just don't think we need to be telling our residents in this city that we give you a warning and we're going to be fined $50 if we catch you again. I can't buy that. How, if I may direct my question to this lady, Mr. Chairman, how are you going to know? I mean, are you going to go out and patrol? Are you going to get a call from me that my neighbor is doing this?
Obviously,
What's the method? What's the routine?
it'll be on a complaint basis along with being out in the field. That's something, I go out to construction sites throughout the whole entire city. So on numerous occasions, I've seen this incident occur. Once on Centerpoint Roadway with a commercial business blowing leaves out into the middle of Centerpoint Road. And then on an individual basis, you know, somebody cuts grass in their spare time. They've been in a subdivision blowing grass out into the street. I've called or I've stopped and talked to them and said, hey, you know, we have an ordinance, but it doesn't specifically say grass clippings or blowing leaves in the roadway. So we, in my opinion, using it as that educational tool is the best thing. And in that situation, we get complaints from citizens, or I see it while I'm out and about, take pictures, do a report, have that on file so we know, okay, this person's done it, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then you can proceed to the next step.
Mr. Chairman, is there any way we can educate the community? You know, is there something we can do to make 99% of the people in my community probably don't even know what we're doing here?
That's something that
Yes.
will also be addressed through our new stormwater educational program. I don't, you were here for the workshop that we did, I believe it was last month.
Are you talking about the property maintenance?
No, this stormwater,
Stormwater?
right.
I
So
watched it, it doesn't spell this out, it just,
that's something that we will address through an educational program. And one tool that we will be using is the UT Extension. They have a program where you can, they call it Smart Yards. So it kind of educates the citizens, and we can supplement that and show them appropriate ways to deal with fertilizers and grass clippings and so on.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as Helen just mentioned, with the implementation of the federally mandated stormwater management program, it is imperative that we not have debris in the street. It's not just a matter of aesthetics, It's a matter of, if we have debris in the streets, we're reclogging up our stormwater system, negating all of our federally mandated efforts. With that being said, with Helen being our erosion control enforcement officer, and also Jerry, who is our property standards inspector, I've been out in the field with both of these ladies, both of these women, and I've seen them interact with citizens. And when we talk about the education component of it, these two women are very adept at education and work very well with our citizens in explaining. They're not out there yelling at people and banging on doors. I've never seen people more articulate and thoughtful in the way that they explain to citizens, hey, here's something that you may not be aware of, please be informed. So all that to address that this is a federally mandated program and that our two inspectors do a fantastic job in our city. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Petrelli, thank you. Alderman Woodcock.
Thank you. First question, I hire a commercial company to cut my grass. They blow it into the street. It happens 3 times for whatever the reason. Who gets the citation, me or the commercial company that I've hired?
Whoever's doing the blowing into the street.
Okay, so the commercial company, not
Correct.
the resident. Okay. And the second is just a statement. I get why we're doing this. I think it's going to be beneficial. I have issue with it from a libertarian standpoint about, so I'm going to vote no, but I don't want anyone saying I think we're going to be Nazis. I do not agree with that. I do not think that, but I am going to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Woodcock. Alderman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'd like to point out that this is part of the stormwater utility that we've been discussing for the last 2 or 3 months in Public Works, and the workshop that we did have. It goes hand in hand with it, and the clean water bill that Congress passed in 1972. This just helps us step up to those regulations that we've been failing to meet for years and years. With that being said, I'd like to call for the question, please.
We have a motion to call for the question. We need a second. This is 2/3. We need 9 of us. Well, there's 11 of us tonight.
So 8.
So we need 8 people to cut off debate, voting affirmative. All those in favor of addressing the previous question, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Good. Ordinance 2017-4. This is first reading of ordinance 2017-4. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Alderman Woodcock, Alderman Waters. Anyone else voting no? Okay. Thank you. That passes. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you all. Dwayne, you got away easy, but.
Next on the agenda is first reading of ordinance 2017-8. It's an ordinance to amend section 10 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Hendersonville and the Hendersonville planning region regarding accessory buildings. Alderman Petrelli, would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Let's vote.
We have nobody in the queue to speak. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. Is this regarding the tiny homes on the property, like for the in-law suites and that sort of thing? Alderman, can I direct my question to Alderman
Sure.
Petrelli,
We can try.
Mayor?
Alderman Petrelli.
Sure. So this is what I brought Department Head Rogers up to the podium for last month when we discussed it. So they are detached buildings, and what we determined were percentages and maximums of how large we can make accessory dwelling units based on lot size. So like we had three types basically, and the first one was like 3/4 of an acre, and then 3/4 to like a half an acre, then half an acre to an acre, and then an acre and above. So with the last one, every percentage of the accessory building could be no larger than 50% of the square footage of the house, and then we set maximums on each category. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, do we have something on the books now similar to this, or is this brand new? Because I couldn't find anything that we have. Is this brand new, Fred?
Yeah, Fred, can you
Yeah,
come?
we'll have Fred
come up
clarify.
first,
Yeah, I
please?
couldn't find anything that we had currently, but I could be wrong.
We do have some standards now. Let's see, probably the best thing to do is to look at the staff report that is on page, let's see, look on page 20, the memorandum to Boma from me. If you'll look there in the first paragraph, there it says that the maximum size of a accessory building is 30% of the size of the yard in which the building is located, such as the rear yard, or 50% of the size of the house, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less. So we do have standards now. The complaint was that 1,000 square feet was too restrictive, so we've now raised that, but for larger lots. There's actually 4 different levels, I think up to 15,000 square feet, up to 30,000 square feet, and then an acre and larger.
Okay, thank you, Fred.
You're welcome.
Alderman Cunningham, anything else?
Nope. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Sprouse.
I think a very important thing to do, very important restriction to broadcast on this, just so that there's expectations among the community, and I think it's very valuable, is these are not for units that are to be rented out. These are to be units that are occupied only by family members of people in the main dwelling. So let's just say you wanted to have a mother-in-law apartment, but you wanted the mother-in-law to be a little further away. This is going to give you the option. Or if you have an adult child at home who needs a little bit more space, this is going to enable this. So we don't have to worry about people starting to rent out boarding houses and secondary apartments.
Alderman Sprouse, thank you. Alderman Petrelli.
And to clarify Alderman Sprouse's point is we will require and have a covenants with that, so that when property is transferred, that there's no confusion that this is can be used as a lease or rental property. It has to stay with the family member.
We have nobody else in the queue asking to speak. All those in favor of first reading of ordinance 2017-8, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. That passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is item G. This is first reading of ordinance 2017-12. This is an ordinance to amend section 10 of the zoning ordinance of the city of Hendersonville and the Hendersonville planning region regarding donation and recycle collection bins. Alderman Petrelli.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Alderman Petrelli, would you wish to speak? We have a couple other people in the queue if you want to.
Let them.
Alderman Sprouse.
Thank you. I was surprised as any of you, found out that what we had on the books was considered, in the opinion of our very experienced and educated and city attorney, that this could be considered unconstitutional, and that he showed the case law to support that. We do not have to agree with the law. It's very similar to a few years ago when Metro, I was shocked that Metro Nashville was prohibited from regulating newspaper boxes in the middle of the sidewalk. That the court found that they didn't have compelling need to make sure that the sidewalks are clear, that was considered a First Amendment issue. But it's not my job to decide the law. It's my job to make sure that we come up with policy that adheres to it. But I will say that when I was reviewing this prior to going to general committee, I thought I was reading it incorrectly. And the reason why I thought I was reading it incorrectly was I was told that this was a compromise between what our current standard is and what people who were threatening to sue us wanted. So I thought that meant that the new standard we'd come up with and the new policy would be somewhere in between those 2 points. And as I read point after point after point, I find this to be even more restrictive. But the interesting thing about it is it's restrictive in a way that we have been advised is compliant with law, and is to the liking of the people who were previously trying to sue us. So this is the equivalent of going and asking someone who's asking $50,000 for a car, and you say, I'll give you 40, and they say, I'll tell you what, I'll take 30. I say, let's take the deal, and let's do it. This is as strict as anything that I think that we can get passed, and it's stricter than what we had actually passed last year. Thank you.
Alderman Strauss, thank you. Alderman Frost.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank the city attorney for separating these two, since I was the one 2 weeks ago that had an issue with it. I still have an issue with it. Mr. Sprouse is right. Alderman Sprouse is correct. However, I still disagree. I know the Sixth Circuit has come down with this opinion and this ruling, and one that is not going to disobey the law or throw the city into a lawsuit, which is what would happen. But I still vehemently disagree with the fact that, in my opinion, and I am not a learned attorney, basically the city is being told by institutions or organizations, whichever you want to call it, that our free speech right supersedes the right for you to say how your city looks aesthetically. I don't like these bins. As I said 2 weeks ago, you can remember Mr. Brown and I worked to get rid of them. Mr. Rogers back there did everything that he could legally, and did a good job doing that. I just have a real bad taste with the fact being told that if the city of Hendersonville, or any city for that fact, doesn't like something that they feel like this enhances the appearance of their city, that doesn't matter. You have to put them up if it's called free speech. So, and I believe in free speech. I just think we should have a right to say how our city looks, and I'm going to vote for it. Eating a lemon, but I'm going to obey the law, and I'm not going to do anything to throw this city under the bus. So, but again, thanks to Mr. Bradley for separating those and giving us the Sixth Circuit's opinion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Frost. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Fred, would you like to, I have 2 or 3 questions for you, please. Alderman Frost is right. Fred and I talked to Fred every day there for about 3 or 4 months about one particular bin, and Fred finally won out. So, I would like to say this is one of the first times when this board voted that we were totally 100% unified. And I think those that were here that night remember that, and which is unusual. We're not 100% unified on most of us, but we were on this. I'm kind of like Mr. Frost. I still don't like them sitting around town. I don't think they're enhanced the looks of our city at all, but I understand. But I do have 2 or 3 questions. One of them is, what does the landscape look like? What do we? I've got 2 bins sitting right out here. 100 foot from the road. What's the landscape screening look like? In your mind, in my mind, paint me a picture.
Right. Well, we, as you know, the city requires that parking lots have landscape islands, like 1 island every 10 spaces.
Right.
And within that island, they're required to have usually 1 tree. So any 1 plant, a shrub, a tree, whatever is there would generally be accepted. We would not, I would not tend to require them to plant anything in addition to that. So basically, it doesn't hide it, it just softens the view. It could in some cases, but not in all cases.
Okay.
But it is required to be at least 100 feet back from the street. So that, combined with the fact that there is at least a plant, a tree or a shrub, or evergreen shrub, does help to at least soften the appearance of the bin.
Okay. And, how are we going to police it? I guess that's my biggest question, because the one that was on Bonita Parkway, you know, of course I drive Bonita Parkway now because Anderson Road's so bad and needs paved. Just thought I'd mention that since we're up here. In case it hadn't been done well. But noted, thank you. But, it was just constant leaving stuff outside, constant. I know you called the property owner, you called the folks that owned the bin, and find the property owner is the one that said, pull your bin out if you can't keep it clean. So how are we gonna, because some of that stuff would sit there 2 or 3, 4 days, looks pretty unsightly.
Well,
And I know there may not be a good answer on that.
Well, we have a new zoning enforcement officer who starts Monday week, and that'll be one of his jobs. He'll be out every day riding around, most every day riding around. And in particular, if we know of one that's a problem, he'll make it his job to go by that location
Can I get
every
his cell
day,
number?
twice a day if need be. Right.
Okay, that's good, because they need to be policed. And my last question would be on the last paragraph, this is probably more with Mr. Bradley, and it may be you. It says, the main change is that rather than being restricted to government property, they may be on private, commercial property. We're not talking about private property like my house. We're talking about private, commercial property.
Right.
Explain that.
Well, just as opposed to the, previously, or in the current ordinance, it's restricted to government property, public property. So we're saying here it can be on private property, but basically what that's saying is it can be in the parking lot of a business. And that's where they want to put them, that's where they are now.
If we say private property,
It always has to be with the
then if
permission
it's
of
100
the
foot
owner.
from the road and I want to put one at the end of my driveway, I'm legal.
No, it says, I believe it says commercial, has to be commercial property.
Okay, well, the comma bothered me, private, commercial property. Thought that comma should maybe be removed. I'm not-
That, I think that is in the, let's look at the actual ordinance.
Okay.
It's not going to be public if it's commercial.
Okay, I just
It's okay.
pacify me. We took a long time getting through this
Yes.
before, and I want to make sure we got it right this time. And
As an English minor, I'll be happy to help.
Okay,
that.
I think
Comma-
you're
looking-
comma is a replacement for and. It means private property and commercial property. It has to be private,
what
both
page?
private and commercial.
And what page you reading from? In,
page 21.
all right, so actually look on page 25, the actual ordinance. That's just my attempt
Summarize.
at trying to explain it. But look midway of page 25 under section 1, where it says amend section 10.4G to read as follows. G, donation and recycle collection bins. Donation, recycle, and similar collection bins are permitted as an accessory use at schools and other government facilities and on commercial and industrial sites under the following conditions. So it says just commercial.
No residential.
All it says is commercial.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Alderman Brown, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm tending to echo the comments and the concerns about the previous two aldermen. I don't like these bins, and it just kind of blows my mind that we just voted on an ordinance to make our city prettier, cleaner, and healthier, and now we're asked to vote on another ordinance that's going to make our city dirtier, trashy. I mean, I visualize these bins all the time. I see them all the time with mattresses next to them, upholstered furniture. It just, I just can't get it through my head that this is a violation of freedom of speech to not allow anything like this. I mean, I'm going to vote for this because we don't have really a choice, being that it's a freedom of speech, which I totally disagree with, issue. And I'm a strict conservative constitutionalist. But I mean, we took one step forward with ordinance 2017-4 and taken 2 steps back with this one. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Strauss.
Thank you again, just for the benefit of the folks who may be watching this meeting. Passing this or not passing this is not going to outlaw bins in the community,
I know.
nor will passing this or not passing this make it legal for folks to put junk up around the bins as they are and the mattresses in those. 'Cause all those rules are still going to be in effect. So I don't want folks to think that we're all of a sudden opening up the gate for mattresses and pieces of furniture and any sort of waste they want to do around the bins. This is just, no matter what we do tonight, they're still going to be restricted and they're still going to have requirements to keep them properly maintained. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Strauss. Alderman Brown.
I have one more question. If we wanted to make this a bit tougher, well, I said, I drove down Bonita Highway, or Bonita lots of times, called Fred right after that, and sent Fred, I don't know how many pictures of couches, lamps, TVs, you know. And I know Fred was making phone calls, and called me back, and email. Fred was probably, as his demeanor is quiet and easygoing, was probably closing the door, talking about me in ways that he doesn't, he wouldn't normally talk about.
You mean like all of us do you?
Yeah, expressing all your feelings.
Yeah.
Says items placed outside the bins shall be removed within 24 hours of notification. Okay, if they don't get there for 48 hours, can we make it stronger? If they violate that 5 times in 6 months and keep piling stuff outside, can we do something stronger other than just make a phone call? And I'm not necessarily, I'm trying to satisfy me, but I'm trying to give you, kind of like we did in the past ordinance with the grass and stuff, a better tool to enforce with. And so I guess that's a combination you and Bradley question.
We certainly can cite them into city court, charge them the $50 fine plus the court cost. And that's what Mr. Rogers has tried to do, is get voluntary compliance. But if we don't have voluntary compliance, we can cite them into city court, just like we could on the clippings ordinance.
Clippings.
Yes, I mean, that's a violation. This is going to be one of our ordinances. That would be a violation of a city ordinance.
I understand. Okay.
Alderman Brown, anything else? No. Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Brown. We have nobody else in the queue. All those in favor of accepting first reading of ordinance 2017-12, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
Abstain.
We have one abstention. Thank you. Next on the agenda, other agenda items. I'll entertain a motion to group A through J. We have a motion and a second to group A through J. Is there a discussion on that? All those in favor of grouping items A through J under other agenda items, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed to grouping them, say no. That passed unanimously. All those in favor of accepting items A through J as a group, please signify. Gotcha. Go ahead, Alderman Strauss.
First, just for the sake of discussion, I'll make the motion that we accept items A through J. If someone would like to make that second, then I'll be happy to address.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, Alderman Strauss.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for a little bit of a background, a couple of these, one of these commissions that we're dealing with is the Golf Course Commission. For folks who are wondering about the structure of that, the Golf Course Commission is a 5-member body. The mayor has the authority to nominate all 5 members. The board has the responsibility to confirm those appointments. 3 of the longtime members, Mr. Burnham, Mr. Skinner, Mr. Trammell, are good, capable, and productive men who've worked long and hard on that committee, and the mayor has asked them to re-up and is renominating them. I would be remiss if we didn't take the opportunity tonight to also recognize 2 people who were not asked by the mayor to re-up and have not been nominated for reappointment. And in full disclosure, one of those individuals, Bill Sprouse, is my father, and the other one is a longtime, very close family friend, Henry Mosina. Both men are also good, capable, and productive longtime members of that Golf Course Commission. I say that not just because I know them personally. I say that not just because of my time as liaison to the Golf Course Commission. I say that because I've been told many times by members of city staff, by members of the golf course staff, and most importantly, the patrons of the golf course. And it's within the mayor's prerogative to decide who he wants to nominate for these, but I think it's very important that we recognize the good service of people when they serve in the community. And so when we vote to reappoint Mr. Burnham, Mr. Skinner, Mr. Trammell, who I highly endorse for reappointment, I think it would also behoove us as well just to take a moment and say thank you to Mr. Sprouse and Mr. Mosina for their good and capable service to the city and the Golf Course Commission as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sprouse. With nobody else in the queue, all those in favor of accepting items A through J under other agenda items as a group, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. Those pass unanimously. Next is item K, an appointment of nonprofit contributions committee member. I entertain a motion to nominate Alderman Pat Campbell.
That's by ordinance, is a appointment made directly by the board if you'd like this board to make a recommendation, but quite frankly, the only person who has a say in that one is you, by the ordinance establishing this committee.
Give us a second.
Then that's who you want appointed. You're saying it's the mayor's appointment?
Yes, two members are the finance chairman and vice chairman. Other two members are general committee chairman and vice chairman, and a fifth member is appointed to a 2-year term by the mayor.
There you go. Then make your nomination. It's done.
I'd appreciate to have the approval of the board with that to
There you
ratify
go.
that. So, I'd like to nominate Alderman Pat Campbell. I need a second. Nobody's in the queue to discuss. We'll vote quickly. All those in favor of approving my selection of Pat Campbell to the appointment of Nonprofit Contributions Committee member, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. That passed unanimously.
You have a vote?
Next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Get your tickets, Burger Battle.
Approved unanimously. Thank you all.
See, you got more power than your